Sausage.
Hello everyone, this is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, an open-world action-adventure game set in the world of Dragon Ball that retells the story of Dragon Ball Z in its entirety. If you want to experience Dragon Ball Z a second time and don't want to slog through the original series or even the truncated Kai version, Kakarot is perfect for that, but only for that and only for those wanting to experience the story for a second or third, etc. time, not those looking to experience it for the first time, but I'll get to that shortly. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot originally came out on January 17th, 2020 for PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and was later released for Switch on September 24th, 2021. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is a great Dragon Ball Z game for those who already love Dragon Ball Z. It is not a good game on its own, and I'd even go so far as to say it's actually kind of a bad game, and when I say kind of, I mean it's a bad game. As someone who loves Dragon Ball, Z or otherwise, well, not so much GT, I struggle to find the joy in Kakarot. It's important to note I've never been the biggest fan of Dragon Ball combat, probably saying, why do you even like Dragon Ball if you don't like the combat? I like the characters. They're a good time, and my favorite is Dragon Ball, Sans Z, and all that jazz. But even so, I found the combat either incredibly boring and easy, or incredibly tedious and frustrating with no middle ground to speak of, the latter of course being rather suiting of the Dragon Ball way of fighting, more so the tedious part than the frustrating part. Basic enemies were a breeze to deal with, and most bossless enemies were easy as well, but whenever a proper boss fight happened, they just went on and on and on like a fight in the anime, and compounded with my lack of interest in the combat system itself, they became frustrating as I didn't care enough about the combat system to learn its intricacies in order to not die at least once during most of these fights, which only obviously added to my frustrations. But I knew I probably wouldn't care for the combat going in, and I basically got what I expected. However, I wasn't expecting the rest of the game to also fail to pull me in. The world of Dragon Ball in Kakarot is more boring than the combat, with little to do and little to see. It's pretty, but that's about it. You can engage in random battles, collect various orbs for this and that system, and take on simple and forgettable side missions if you wish. There are also random NPCs you can talk to for a bit of fun. Hey, I know that person, and so on, but ultimately there just isn't much of note to do in Kakarot's world. But there's a bigger reason for my lack of interest in much of what Kakarot was throwing at me, which often felt like caca. The game really put the caca in Kakarot, you know what I'm saying? And this is really what the purpose of this review is for, to warn potential other players from doing what I did, lest they end up feeling the way I feel right now. Sad, disappointed, and incredibly stupid. When Kakarot was first revealed, I was beyond excited. I thought the game sounded and looked amazing. So what did I do with all this excitement? I took it, said to Kakarot, give me a minute, and proceeded to rewatch all of Dragon Ball before playing it, sans the 24 or so movies. I watched Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z Kai, this being probably my dumbest decision, Dragon Ball GT, never mind, this was my dumbest decision, and Dragon Ball Super to wrap things up. Everything other than Kai I had already watched at least once before, and why I decided to watch Z proper followed immediately by Kai is impossible to justify with any reason other than I'm me and I'm an idiot. The point of me telling you all this is I'm 99.9999, just keep with the 9% sure that the reason I couldn't get into Kakarot was because I burned myself out on Dragon Ball by the time I finally got to the game. What I thought was me building up my excitement was actually me doing the opposite. Because of this, I opted to put the game back in my backlog after spending 12 hours in it, because everything I said about the game up until this point, how I found the combat and world boring, etc., is all bullshit. Well, it may not be 100% bullshit, but I know I at least didn't have the right mindset going in because I was more exhausted than I realized and wasn't being fair to the game or myself as the Dragon Ball fan I am. I realized this when I had moments of pure delight, whether it be with the combat or the world or any part of the game. I enjoyed every aspect of it. Yes, I enjoyed the combat at times, and the whole time I wondered why such moments felt so few and far between. That's when I took a step back, thought about what was going on in my head, and decided to return to fight another day, if you know what I'm saying. Super Saiyan, you know, Saiyan spelled Shut up. And so, this episode is less a review and more of a warning. A warning to all my fellow Dragon Ball fans who may have thought of doing what I did. Don't. If it's already too late, then wait. Lest you want to leave something you love feeling nothing but hate, which is something I don't feel for the android named Teen preceded by 8. I'm proud of that. That's some good dumb shit right there. But yeah, before I say anyway and wrap this episode up, this is really just part 1 of what will be a two-parter at some point in the future whenever I get back to this game, because I definitely was just not in the right mindset when I started playing this game. I had like an emotional breakdown during my first session with the game. Then I played it again and I was having a really good time, and then I broke down again with like the 3rd or 4th session. So all my negativity about this game, some of it may still hold true when I revisit it. The world may still feel relatively empty, but I am sure that going into it with Dragon Ball not so all over me with all these series and having spent so much time with it, I think that will go a long way in making me appreciate Kakarot a lot more than I did my first attempt at playing it. And with that said, now I will say anyway, that will do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. You can follow me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you'd like to see me streaming games like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and so much more, you can do so over at twitch.tv/PX Sausage. If you'd like to check out the videos I make, like the one for this here episode of Attack the Backlog, you can do that over at youtube.com/pixelated sausage. Speaking of pixelated sausage, before I get to that, like, subscribe, hit that bell if you haven't already, do that jazz. Then, reverse to pixelated sausage. Speaking of it, if you put a little .com after that, what do you got? You got my website, pixelatedsausage.com, where you can find more stuff like this, as well as the art I'm making. If you see something you like, you can purchase a print of the piece you fancy. And if you fancy the site in general and anything that we do, please go over to patreon.com/PXS and support us that way. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Whoa!